Hi everyone, welcome to this new episode of Global Entrepreneur. Today I'm going to be talking about how to use a business model canvas to grow your business and to even create your business. And I'm going to be using the first startup company that I created, which is FlykeART, as an example. So just like I mentioned in my last video, our team competed at the Burton D. Morgan Business Model Competition at Purdue University. And by following the business model canvas framework, we were able to really understand business a lot better. And this is something that has to be learned by doing. You have to get very practical when using a canvas. Otherwise, you can read books and watch YouTube videos on how to do it. But if you don't see it for yourself, you're not going to think that it's useful. So yeah, I mean, basically, this competition consisted of a series of workshops. So every week or every 2 weeks, we would have to attend a workshop where there would be mentors, where they would teach us how to use a canvas. And basically, we would have to adjust our business model according to this framework. And I'm going to show you very soon what this canvas is all about. Believe it or not, this is a very important competition, one of the top in the U.S. And then they have been giving out millions of dollars to startups to grow, and very successful startups have come out of Purdue University. In fact, you can check out like the past winners. As you can see, in 2019, our startup company got third place in the business to business track. So we got $7,500 to launch our business, and we also got a lot of legal help. I would say close to $3,000 in legal documents and other stuff, and also $1,000 as a diversity prize. So we got close to $13,000 or so, and this was the first competition. As you're going to see, we just had an idea and a little bit of a validated business, but we didn't have like a prototype or a final design or anything going on. And yeah, I mean, obviously, this is, we were lucky that we had this competition. But just like this one, there's a lot of competitions out there. And, in fact, you don't even need to be in the US to be able to participate. That's a great thing. So, in fact, this competition prepared us for the international version of this same competition, which is called the International Business Model Competition. And here, you can check it out later. I'm going to also talk about how we competed here, and we got among the top 10 startups in the world out of I think 8,000 or 80,000. I don't remember, but yeah, thousands of startups. So, I'm confident I'm confident in explaining how the canvas works, because I've been recognized as one of the top lean canvas entrepreneurs in the world with my startup. And what I would suggest is, for you guys, for those of you who have an idea in mind, just start working on it. And the other thing is, go talk to your entrepreneurship center at the university or your local city. I'm sure there's, they have resources and they have mentors and they have people who know. Trust me, everywhere you go, there's going to be an entrepreneurial ecosystem, right? So it could be, I don't know, again, go see if your university has some sort of business partnership with someone, or if there's an entrepreneurship hub or center or a prototyping center, whatever you can find. Just go out there on Google, right, whatever you live, and just try to find resources that will help you grow your idea from scratch, because you're never going to be able to do this alone. You're going to need as much help and as many free resources as possible. So I would suggest you start doing that research right now. Okay, so I've been talking a lot about a business model canvas. So let's see what that's all about. Okay, so here we have the business model canvas. Now, this is a tool or a framework that has been used by a lot of startups, and right now I would say if you talk to startup founders, they'll tell you that they didn't use a business model canvas because it's kind of tedious to have to fill out this framework every single time. But again, if you ask me today if I had to start a new company, would I use a canvas? I would say maybe not. but the reason is because I already have this framework internalized, so I already know sort of how this landscape looks like, right? So what's your idea? Who's going to be your customer? How much is it going to cost? How much you're going to make, right? That's all of what this canvas is about, right? So here we have, designed for, designed by. So this means, let's say designed for FlykeART, designed by me, whatever. And here we can put the date and the version. And this is there on purpose so that every time you fill out this framework, you can have different printed versions that you can use, or you could also have some sort of like digital version or electronic copy, or you can just fill it out and see how you've been pivoting back and forth. Again, this would be a great thing to do, to fill out at first and put on a Google Drive so that you start working on your idea. And again, to build a startup, the only thing you have to do is just keep working on it every single day and do a little bit more every single day. And trust me, at one point you're gonna get somewhere. It doesn't matter if what you did at first was wrong or if what you did at first was right. All that matters is that you just start putting in the work. And if you have an idea, you start materializing it into something. All right, so we have one common mistake, and people that really don't know what this means or how to use it, is that they sort of look at key partners, key activities, key resources, right? And they don't know what it is. So if there's something that I don't explain very well, you can just go on Google, look up the business model canvas and its sections, and you're going to be able to read what that canvas is about. The good thing about the canvas is that it's not meant to be filled out from, let's say, from left to right or from right to left. Basically, the quadrants are not in order. So, bear with me because I don't remember if this is the right order, but, usually I start with the value proposition. So basically, what's your idea, right? This should be a one short sentence saying what your idea is. So in our case, it would be, a smart airplane food cart that helps airlines reduce weight and improve the in-flight experience. So that's a value proposition, right? Now, now basically what you want to do is start looking into who your customer is, right? So once you have an idea, right, and you have listed it here, so I don't know, whatever you want to do, right? A photo sharing app, a smart wireless mouse, right? I don't know, whatever it is that you want to develop. Then what you're going to have to find is who's your customer, right? Like who's going to buy this product. Essentially, what you want to do here is explore as much as you can who your customer is, what his or her preferences are, and just learn about that persona in general, like what age group is it in, sort of what are their problems and what are their trends, and just everything you can know about your customer you want to list it here. So, this is a huge part of the customer discovery that I'm going to talk about later. But, here you just want to list everything you can and just talk to as many customers as you can. And, basically what you're going to do is you're going to start iterating back and forth between these two blocks. Because first you're going to have an idea, you're going to talk to your customers, they're going to either validate or invalidate your idea. And they're going to go back to the value proposition and refine and then adjust and keep going like this, right? And the good thing about doing this is that as you talk to your potential customers, because they're not going to buy anything at first, you're just doing research, what's going to happen is that then you're going to move on to filling out the rest of the canvas, right? So here what's going to happen is you're going to develop this customer relationships quadrant, right, or section. Because what's going to happen is you're going to talk to them via email, via phone, via in person, going to events, maybe using a blog, right? Using Twitter. I don't know. There's a thousand ways in which you could have a relationship with your customer. It could be, sending them a letter. I don't know. It could be anything. It's just like, how do you maintain a relationship with your customer so that you can build your company and they're going to be adopters of your product when you launch, right? So first you're going to fill this out, right? And then basically here you have kind of like two options, right? Either you look into the channels, like how you're going to distribute, or you look into the key partners, key activities, key resources. I would say it's better to then, like, once you go from 1 to 2 to 3, then move on to this part, because here this is going to be like, okay, what am I going to use? So I already have an idea, I already have a customer and a relationship with them. What resources, partners, and things am I going to do to then bring the product to them, right? So I think that should be the next portion of it. So here, as you can see, who are going to be my key partners, right? I just mentioned one earlier. So one could be the entrepreneurship center at your city or at your university. You could talk to mentors. If you're doing software, your key partner could be a company giving you a free license to use software. It could be, I'm not sure, it could be a professor from from your university. It could be an investor. I don't know. It's, you have several different people or places that you can list as partners. So the idea is that now you want to move on to developing partnerships, and growing your list of partners is going to help you then you know get better, like do your activities in a more efficient and better knowledgeable way, and also get better resources. So again, one, value proposition, two, customer segment, three, customer relationships, four, partners, and then we're going to have activities and resources, right? So activities here would be, or key activities, this would be, what are the things you're going to have to do to create a product and then bring it to your customers so that you solve their problem, right? So in this case, our key activity would have to be, first we would have to interview airlines. And then second, we would have to build a prototype. Third, we would have to get an intellectual property for the prototype or for the product. And then we would have to get it FAA approved and then manufacture and then launch to market, right? So those would be kind of like the steps to bring the Smart Galley cart to market. And then we have, key resources. So what are resources we could use? Well, we could use, the mentors from Purdue. We could use business model competitions, because that's free cash that you can use to build your business. You could use a manufacturing center. You could use a software hub. You could use freelancers. I don't know, whatever resource you use. And hopefully if you can get it for free from your key partners, that's going to be great to then help you build this, right? All right, so now you know who you're going to be working with, what you're going to do, what you're going to need. Now, what you're going to need to know is, how am I going to hypothetically bring this product to my customers, right? And so I'm very weak when it comes to channels. I still don't know very much how this one works, to be honest. But, let's just say, I don't know, like we were to sell the cards that we developed, right? We would probably use like online website sales. We could also do in-person shipping. There's you could sell a software version online. It's you could either go direct to consumer, you could go retail, right? So retail means you could sell at a store or a supermarket. So there's a middleman there selling your product. Basically, this is how are you going to get your product to your customer. Finally, and one of the most important parts, and this is very hard to validate at first, because obviously you're going to be doing calculations on top of your head of how much things are going to cost, and this is going to be constant iteration. It's going to be the cost structure, right? So how many people am I going to need to build this company? How many employees, right? So, usually you need to have a co-founder or someone who's going to be the person leading the company, a CEO or whatever. Then you're going to need to have someone working with the finance. If you're in a tech startup, then you're probably going to need programmers, right? How much am I going to spend on them? Like how much is that going to cost? And then you're probably going to need a place to work. There's a lot of very good options like co-working spaces, but you could also rent an office. You could work from home, right? All of that is included in the cost structure. If you're building a hardware product, how much am I going to spend in design? How much am I going to spend in manufacturing? How many machines do I need? What materials do I need? How much is that going to cost? If you have intellectual property or patents, because you want to protect your idea from people stealing your idea, then how much is the patent going to cost? What are the legal costs of building a company? All of those costs, you want to put them all in the cost structure. Obviously it's going to be very hard to summarize everything here, but you could probably just do an Excel spreadsheet and do it by categories. Like you could say, like legal, manufacturing, payroll, which is salaries, and then something else, and then you could just put it here, copy paste the Excel spreadsheet that you have, and have that as a cost structure. And then revenue streams, right? This means not just how much money you're gonna make, but how, where are you gonna get the money from, right? So revenue streams could be, let's say you could have some sort of freemium version, so you launch an app and then people use it for free and then they pay for premium content. You could also just sell direct to consumer and be like, they pay the price of the item. Basically, you could make revenue streams from licensing your intellectual property of the product you have. You could make money in a lot of ways, in a lot of different ways, and not just one, but hopefully you're going to have several different revenue streams that are going to help you build your company. So you could also, for example, provide support and technical maintenance and make money that way as a separate revenue stream. If there's something very technical, very specific you're selling, right? So like customer support, there's a lot of ways in which you can make money. So this canvas is just meant to be a framework. You don't really need to, worry too much about how you're filling this out. The idea is that you just keep on changing everything. So let me give you an idea. Or let me tell you something. If your value proposition changes, right, your product is very likely going to change, and so your customers are potentially going to be different as well. And as you can see, this is going to be a chain of actions that are going to change the way in which this canvas is structured. So you're going to have first your customer is going to change, your relationship with them most likely will change. Then who's going to help you will change because your proposition will change, and just everything else will change, right? Your cost structure will change, the way you make money will change, and so you're going to see that this is a good way to document how you've been changing things along the way. In our case, the good thing about competing at these competitions was that we could track every single thing that we had to change, or every single pivot we had, and so it was really a great tool. Okay, so I'm going to show you a presentation on what we presented as a preliminary pitch competition first. So this business model competition had 2 rounds. First, we had a preliminary round where we showed the idea, and if we got accepted, I think there were like 30 teams competing, and then only like 8 would get selected. So we first had the preliminary, we got selected, and then we moved on to the finals. Before I start, I just want to say that if you're going to be competing at your first competition, right, and if you guys need help, I can help you out in looking for what competitions are in your city or close to you, and what are the requirements, or what are other international competitions that are easy to participate in that could give you a lot of money even if you just have an idea, right? You don't need to have a product to start working, trust me. But the greatest advice I could give you is, go on Udemy or Coursera or whatever platform you use, and try to do an online course on how to do public speaking, how to become a better presenter, how to use PowerPoint, right? Because your visuals are really going to matter, and your design and the way you deliver your speech is going to really going to help you in winning those competitions. Before I get into the presentation, I want to mention that when we got started, we got a PhD student in entrepreneurial communications to help us refine our pitch, and so that was really great because it helped us get a lot better when it came to delivering a presentation and getting much better at public speaking and its slide design and how we delivered our value proposition. And we didn't have him at this competition, but then later on this guy helped us out, and we were able to make a lot more money in competitions because we became a lot more competitive, and judges are really attracted to people who know how to deliver their message. And if you're a co-founder and you're shy, or your public speaking skills are not great, or you don't really know how to do PowerPoint, try to look for a co-founder who's going to be the person presenting and showing the idea to people and talking to customers, right? You can be the back end of the company, just working on the finance and the marketing side and sales and whatever, but you're going to need someone to be a really good public speaker who can deliver the message in a short, clear, and concise way. So definitely take that into account. If you know that you mumble too much when you talk, or you can't get your ideas straight, but there's someone who's great at summarizing and then delivering the idea, then that's really good. In fact, I kind of like trained my entire team to become good communicators, and they really improved a lot. So this is also a skill that you can improve. You don't, if you're okay and you feel like you have the talent, you just need more practice, then I would highly suggest you do it. But as a founder, one of the most important things is that you know how to storytell and how to communicate your ideas. Okay, so without much further ado, this is what we had at first, the first ever pitch that we had or presentation. So as you can see, we are FlykeART. We were in the business to business segment. This means that we were selling to a business and not to a person or a consumer. Um, that was the old logo we had. It looked ugly, but whatever. Um, and as you can see, we had to do a quick 1 minute video demo, which is going to look very unprofessional, but it was a requirement for the competition. But I think overall it wasn't that bad considering we were just getting started. So here goes.
Since the beginning of commercial aviation, many new features have been added to airplanes, from seatback screens to Wi-Fi on board. However, there is one part of the experience that has not changed much: food trolleys. These carts are heavy, making airlines overspend millions of dollars on fuel costs. They occupy too much space, blocking the aisle, reducing the ease of circulation of crew and passengers in the cabin. They do not allow flight attendants to serve passengers without language barriers being a problem. And most importantly, in the event of unexpected turbulence, they are a potential hazard due to its sharp edges and hot contents not being contained. Now more than ever, it is time for a disruption in the design of airplane trolleys, allowing airlines to enhance the passenger experience while reducing operating costs.
All right, so there it goes. That was her demo, right? And then here, basically, we have the value proposition. So we started with a clear message that FlykeART is a smart galley cart that communicates with the seatback screens of the airplane, enabling airlines to empower passengers to customize their in-flight experience while reducing operating costs, right? This was our first design that we had, as I mentioned. And so, this was kind of like the introductory slide. So here was our team. We said we had a diverse team of people covering fields of engineering, technology, science, and management. Some of us were engineers, some of us were scientists. So yeah, and then here was our initial hypothesis. We wanted to help airlines reduce operating costs. Okay, so basically what happens is airlines cannot reduce operating costs without hurting the in-flight experience. And we thought, a great way to solve this problem would be to change the carts, because we could both change the weight and improve the in-flight experience. And so with better carts, airlines would be able to achieve this, right? As you can see, those carts are really, really ugly, but they're still the ones that are used today. So here we just showed some pictures of the problem. As you can see, these carts also have like hot contents and glass bottles on top that could fall off in case of turbulence, hurting passengers. This has already happened before. And so, to reduce weight and make profits, airlines are forced to limit the amount, size, and weight of bags allowed on board. They have to eliminate food options. They have to reduce the comfort of the airplane seats. If you're a tall guy like me, the leg room you have available is not very good. And also, it forces customers to pay very high fares for a better flight experience. What we basically thought is that there was an opportunity to redesign the airplane trolleys to be lightweight, efficient, safe, and attractive. And here we just showed kind of like a preliminary version on how we could reduce half the aisle while making it light and more efficient and everything. And we talked about the enabling technology first, right? So the enabling technology would be, seatback screens that, so basically there's technology that planes didn't have in the past, which are seatback screens and Wi-Fi on board. So we thought, what if we can use those, that enabling technology to connect our carts to either the screens or the Wi-Fi to create a much better digitalized ecosystem. So we had to discard that at first because, before getting into the problem, we needed to know more about our customers. So before we started developing a design or a technology, we wanted to see whether this was really a problem or not, and if there was an opportunity for us to develop this product. So first, and this was one of the worksheets we did at the workshop, we listed out every single stakeholder, so every person involved. So here you have, airlines, flight attendants, passengers, airplane manufacturers, catering facilities, and we basically categorized them, right? So decision maker, influencer, end user, advocate, saboteur, you have different, and then what their roles were. And then what we also did was we kind of like created a chart of the project, right? So the description, the job of the customer, so what they do, what are their pains, and what are the great benefits they could have of implementing our idea, right? Then we had some sort of assumptions and risks, and then we have some customers and some key questions, right? This is kind of like an overall map on what are the macro benefits of developing the idea. So you could use a similar framework as well to be helpful. So here we go. That's our initial business model canvas, right? So I kind of like gave a brief introduction to the idea. So now we're going to look at this, right? So our value proposition was that we would allow airlines to reduce operating costs by $200 million a year by making galley carts lighter, and this will also allow airlines to improve the customer experience, right? So this value proposition is not great and clear, but at that time we thought it was good. We just didn't know, right? So customer segments, we had either airlines or catering facilities were the customers. Our relationships with them would be either email, phone, or video call, and face-to-face. Our partners would be airplane manufacturers like Boeing and Airbus and Bombardier, Purdue University, and flight catering facilities, right? So they could provide information about the carts. So activities would be manufacturing, software development, training for flight attendants, and passenger big data analysis. Key resources, we would need manufacturing space and 3D printers, software licenses, patents, and installation and installation or implementation team to go out there and implement our cards. And then, channels, we direct virtual channels, so no intermediary online sale. Basically, just sell through your website. This could just have said website. I don't know why we did it that way. Anyway, so cost structure, we have team and employees, patents, manufacturing, software licenses, maintenance. So you can see there's no numbers here. So this is already bad because we didn't have this validated. And revenue streams, we thought, sales per cart, data analytics obtained by the software that we were going to use to build the carts, and then post-sales maintenance service, right? So this was the kind of like the entire first canvas that we had in mind. So, like I mentioned in the last video, we followed a structured approach for the customer discovery process. So we listed out every single airline and their contact information. I talked more about that in my prior video, so check that out. What happened was that we contacted all of these airlines, and almost all of them replied to our emails. But at first the ones that really replied to us were these airlines, right, and manufacturers. So first we had 8 phone interviews, and they showed interest and helped us, but we'll only do business once we have a developed product. And these were all of these airlines that you see here, right? And that makes sense. They're huge airlines. They're not going to bear the risk. But then we had another 4 interviews with people, and they were interested in buying our product right now. And that was Aeromexico. So at that point, we're getting very deep into talking to the managers at Aeromexico, and they were very interested. And they said that and all of these airlines said that the 2 main problems that they had were to reduce operating costs while improving the customer service. So our initial idea of what the problem was totally validated. This was absolutely right. Then we had that the second finding was that the director of operations in the airline is our customer. In this case, just catering facilities only supply food to the airline, and so they're not involved with the carts. And the director of operations in the airline is the one who makes the decision whether to buy or not a new trolley, right? So now we knew who that specific person was, and that took a long time because we were just going back and forth with airlines. So this invalidated what we initially thought, that because we thought, that catering facilities would be the one taking care of the carts, but that was not the case. It was the operations manager. So as you can see, everything stays the same, but the customer here changes, since now our specific customer is the person who buys the product, buys the cart. So you want to talk to that person and learn as much as you can about that specific customer so that they tell you what their problems are. You can solve those problems for them, and then they can buy your product. So here we mentioned how we approach the customer discovery strategy. We use LinkedIn and email, just as a finding overall. By using email, we could tackle executives at the airline and decision support and kind of like so we could tackle executives and senior managers. And then with LinkedIn, we could tackle middle managers and workers. This was helpful because you have sort of like different layers of information that you can get. Basically, CEOs and executives are busy, but they can tell you a lot about, very specific problems. But then middle and lower management can tell you a lot more about the operations and sort of like the day-to-day activities. And so you kind of need to know about both to have a complete picture of the problem you're solving. And just LinkedIn worked really well with middle management, and email worked really well with CEOs. So to our surprise, yes. So emails, so instant responses from CEOs and senior vice presidents. If they were busy, we were referred by them and helped by a middle or senior manager. So it's actually counterintuitive, but it's easier to start from the top down than from the bottom up of the company, because when a worker talks to the CEO, the chances that the CEO is going to take time to look at the worker request is a lot lower. But if you talk to the CEO and he asks for a middle manager to help you out, it's going to be immediate, right? They're going to have to respond because it's an order from a superior. So here we have, LinkedIn worked well with Purdue-related contacts. So we had to work around a lot to talk to upper management. So it took a lot of time and effort, and it was inefficient to get approvals. Yeah, and usually middle management was busier than upper management. I don't know why, to take calls, and it just took longer to talk to them. But LinkedIn's a very powerful tool if you have an established network. Right now, I know a lot more about LinkedIn as I used to before, so it's a very powerful tool, and I'll be doing an episode later on how you can use LinkedIn to achieve any results you want, right? Okay, so here we had our value proposition calculations. So in the past, we mentioned that we would save $200 million annually. That's a big number for any airline. And what we did was we thought, okay, let's say that there are 5 galley carts and 2 waste carts per plane. That's going to be about 150 kilograms. And, if we could just use 3 carts so that they could weigh a total of 15 kilograms, we could reduce about 134 or 135 kilograms. Now, if we take that difference in weight and we use a fuel burn rate approximation, so this means how much fuel airplanes burn per flight, then we knew that we got this number from online sources. Then we knew that we would save this much fuel per plane, and then we just took into account the cost of that fuel, which is $1.5 per liter, and then we knew that we could save $83 per flight. Now, even though that doesn't seem like a lot per flight, we looked online and it said that American Airlines operates about 6,700 flights per day. So if we took that and multiply the cost times the number of flights times the flights operated annually, this would be 200 million. So, as you can see here, we knew that a little bit of weight reduction could lead to huge numbers in fuel savings. And then for revenue streams, we asked airlines to share information to validate how many galley carts they use. So we talked to all of them. They sent us some pictures, and they said that each plane has about 16 carts on average. By the time we didn't know whether these were short haul or long haul planes, then we could, understand it better. But we just took, so this invalidated our assumption about the number of carts. And then when we talked to American Airlines, they gave us a chart about the fuel burn rate that they have, and the one that we had found online was good, so that was validated. Then we looked into American Airlines website, and we looked into how many planes they had, and then the number of flights are also changed because we didn't take into account that only about a third of the planes had seatback screens and Wi-Fi. So basically, we had to change that. And then we talked to Delta, and they said they have approximately 55,000 cards, and they provided the weight of the cards and then the type. And so this validated our the weight that we had used for the carts. So now we had to do all of the calculations again. I'm not going to go through everything, but basically if there's 16 carts, and then we would need sort of like an ideal solution would be 6 carts weighing a lot less. And then we just calculated everything with the new numbers, and this would be $192 per flight. So this is significant, significant number compared to the $82 that we had before. But now remember that the number of planes that were equipped with seatback screens and Wi-Fi was about a third. So we had less flights per day, and so this would now change to $150 million a year. So as you can see, our calculations before and after had changed, and this was great because we did this by talking to our customers. So basically we talked about how many carts the airline had, and Delta said they had about 55,000, and then they spent about $750 per cart. This means that they would spend about if they had to replace all carts, they would have to spend about $4 million. So basically, if we were to if we replace all the carts of the airline without incurring any cost, we would only make 2.8% of what we would hypothetically save to the airline if it were to sell at the same price. So initially, what we thought was we could just license our technology and make about 30% of what we would save to the airline. So if we would save them $150 million a year, we would get a third of that, approximately like $47 million a year, just by licensing our carts. This again was just an assumption. We were testing strategies and trying to use this canvas to then move on, right? Okay, so as we mentioned, there was one company that was interested in buying our product right now. That was Aeromexico, right? And then here we had like 4 stages. So first we talked to the senior vice president of customer experience. Then we talked to the vice president of in-flight catering. Then we talked to the operations manager, and then we talked to the director of operations. So that was kind of like a 4-series step. And so they basically asked to have deliverables to then get close to the customer. We had to first send them a non-disclosure agreement at first, and they also wanted to have a specific cost savings analysis of the airline, right? So we calculated it, and for Aeromexico, we would basically just save $1.8 million a year with the current numbers that we had. So they had to run those numbers and validate them themselves, but basically we were getting close to the customer. What the director of operations said was, we care about the weight savings, but our interest is what you can bring to the customer experience. So can you please send a proposal on how customer experience could be improved? But we had no data about passenger preferences. So what we did was we surveyed passengers, and so we created this Google survey. Later on, I'm going to explain why surveys are not good if you use them at first, but are good later on in at later stages. But basically, we asked, do passengers have a need for an improved flight dining experience? We designed a survey, and we surveyed 125 people. So people said that the carts were really bad. They needed thinner food carts, that they're annoying, that the meals are just really bad, and they need to pay a lot more to get their meals, and that they always get hit by the carts, right? And here we just show this demo again, where we show that people would get hit in the knees, just to reinforce the idea of how bad these carts were. Anyway, so we did the survey. We're on a scale of 1 to 10. We asked how does your in-flight experience improve with this idea? And then basically almost 80% said that their experience would significantly improve on an 8 to 10 scale by having a better cart, right? We surveyed flight attendants as well, asking problems about their daily jobs and the carts, and we surveyed 10 flight attendants, and they said that the carts were bulky and heavy, difficult to maneuvers, and that the brakes would not work. Here's not brakes with A. Anyway, so the needs, they needed sleeker carts and basically with less weight, something easier to handle down the aisle, and something that would not break all the time. So for cost structure, we basically listed how much we would have to spend, right? So for a patent, for hardware materials at first to get a prototype, for filing a limited liability company and a website, so we calculate about $20,000 in 1 year. And then we said that a great resource would be having the Bechtel Innovation Design Center at Purdue to develop our prototype. So now we had some numbers on the cost structure and some numbers on the revenue streams. This was our final business model canvas. And then finally, we wanted to talk about the market size, right? So we said there's 3 main airline alliances in the world. This is the total number of flights that they operate per day. So if we can save $192 per flight, and there's 48,000 flights per day, and we just take that a third of the planes are capable of having or are technologically equipped with Wi-Fi and seatback screens, and we operate that, and we take a 10-year forecast, we could save the entire airline industry $11.2 billion, right? So that was the end of this presentation. So what are the takeaways here? As you can see, everything that's in red were pivots that we made along the way compared to the initial canvas that we had, right? So that really changed a lot. The good thing is that, as you can see, you can use this to keep on developing your canvas and keep on validating your idea. As you can see, what we did is we talked to customers. So we came up with the first value proposition, right? And then see here we had a smart galley card, blah 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 blah. So this also changed compared first that we just thought a better cart that would be lighter. Now we were incorporating a smarter cart. That was not very clear, I guess, in the presentation, but in any case, the idea is that this still changed, right? So after talking to flight attendants, they needed something slimmer and lighter and whatnot. So basically, we had our idea. We talked to customers in airlines, sending emails and LinkedIn, and just having phone interviews. And then basically, once we knew that, we also knew that email, phone, and face-to-face worked really well, right? We didn't know the channel very well, and here we had no idea. But basically, after we calculated our costs and what we would need, then we knew which partners would be helpful and what activities and resources we would need. And finally, we thought of, once we validated our calculations for how much money we can make, and here this would be 30% of about 150 million annually per airline as a revenue stream. This should have been a lot more clear. We had an overall picture of what we wanted to get into, right? This was just a preliminary round. So I'm gonna just stop here, because next time, on the next episode, I'm gonna show you how this canvas changed, and we before we had the business model competition, we adjusted some things, we pivoted, and our presentation was better. We changed the design of the card based on what people had told us and the software. And so I'm going to show you how or what we presented at the final competition to show you how the canvas works. And again, I think it will be useful to show you several iterations, of our product and our canvas, just so that you have a better idea on how this canvas works and how you could use it for your own startup company if you're just starting. So I hope you guys like this video, and if you have any other questions, you can please just write in the comment section. We could talk. I could teach you how you can use this for your own startups for free. I'm just really passionate about building companies from scratch, and I'm just really proud of showing all of what we did to build a company, even from having nothing. As you can see, we literally had this logo on this picture of the cart and their computer, and that's how we use the canvas to then make about $12,000 by winning this competition, and then moving on to using that money to build a product. And again, this is something you can do because there's a lot of international competitions out there that you can participate in and make thousands of dollars. And especially if you're at university, there's a lot of student competitions. So being at school could be a great resource, because once you stop being a student, you don't qualify for those. But once you are a student, or while you're still a student, you can participate and just start making money and money and money, and they'll pay for your tickets. You're going to be able to travel to everywhere in the world, and you just have to follow a similar process. Obviously, this was trying to sell to a business, but selling to consumers is a very similar approach. You just have to talk to your customers and refine your idea. So I hope you found it helpful. Again, if you have any questions, let me know, and I'll see you on the next episode. Bye.